Hello, and welcome back to Spawnpoint, Spawn Different Game Eco. What a band battle we just saw. And Kyle, you are on, you can hear me? Well, I can't hear you. Maybe we have to do some signs, but I'm glad we share a message today. I can't hear you. I don't know what, some technical issues. Just a moment. Did you turn on your micro? Ich glaube, wir brauchen Live-Musik als spontane. Unfortunately, Kyle, I can't hear you. Just see you smiling, and the whole world, of course. Yeah, so we make a break, fix it, and we'll be back soon. You gotta get up and do it again. This thing we call life is moving too fast. I wish that I could turn back the time and try to catch all the things I let fall through the cracks. Imagine how this life it could have been if I could cut through this and do it over. Kyle, one more try?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, fantastic.
I hear myself.
What a sound. What a voice.
Thank you, thank you.
I can hear you. Kyle, where are you right now and what time is it?
Right now, I'm in Texas.
Texas?
It is about 12:15 p.m., so it's lunchtime. We're having a little bit of a cold break freeze, so it's about like 40 degrees. We're going to get to below to like 17 by Monday or so. So it's like a really big change for us as well as far as the weather.
Wow. So we have a snowfall outside here. Hello from Vienna to Texas. Great to have you. Really great. Could you tell us a little bit about you, Kyle, and your passion for gaming, how that has started?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Kyle. I was born with Cerebral Palsy, so I use a power wheelchair to get around. I've had my first power wheelchair when I was 3 years old.
3 years?
I also started 3 years old.
Sorry for
back
interrupting.
then.
So you were 3 years old and you had your first powered wheelchair.
Correct.
Would you think if you get it, you know, if was it early enough? I mean, 3 years?
It's hard to remember back then, but I think...
Oh, of course.
I remember my parents telling me that people at 3 years old they didn't really trust for you to have a wheelchair at that age because they didn't trust you to take care of the technology or the power wheelchair, and you would run into things where it's not safe. But I'm really glad that they did, so I could be independent and move around and do things that I wanted to do, at least for the power wheelchair, not have to depend on someone pushing me around.
Just a couple hours ago, I presented a wheel sim
so wheelchair simulation for the virtual classes, but also for the desktop. So nowadays, with this simulation, you could, with 3 years, practice driving a powered wheelchair before you actually get one. So maybe you spread the word afterwards. I send you a link afterwards.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be cool to check it out and see how that works and see with the simulation and how it relates to really driving.
Yeah, and beside the powered wheelchair, they gave you a computer console as well, like PlayStation as well, or when did that start?
I'm the oldest of 2 brothers, so we always had gaming stuff in the house. We played Nintendo, started out. We had N64, Xbox, PlayStations, and things like that. So I was playing console games growing up, and then I kind of transitioned more into PC gaming as I got older and through college, and now as an adult, playing more on PC.
Very cool. And how do you actually, with the Cerebral Palsy and one hand mostly, that's your name,
my moniker, my online handle, as you could say.
Exactly.
So I play most of the games one-handed, so I've kind of read the rebind the controls all to the kind of the bottom right side of the keyboard. I use like the arrow keys, and I have made my own touchpad, and where it instead of, I can't hold the mouse physically in my hand, so I have a touchpad velcroed to a piece of cardboard that I slid underneath my keyboard.
Okay.
And so it kind of mimics what a laptop computer would look like, the interface with the touchpad and the keyboard. And so that's kind of how I game. I have Tobii eye tracking, as well as I use voice attack to use voice commands to press different inputs based on voice recognition. So I kind of use all 3 of those tools to play.
Very, very cool and very impressive. Did you? Of course, you found out about the adaptive controller for Microsoft. Replacing or to make it more accessible. What do you think about this adaptive controller?
Yeah, a lot of people
in general,
suggested
that the big one, started to provide something.
I think that a lot of people suggest that one, and so I don't have it for myself, but it takes a lot of setup and things. And so for me as a person, I try, if my setup doesn't break, if I'm able to do it and do it independently, I try not to mess around with my setup too much, as long as I can do it until things are, start breaking, or I'm not physically able to do the things that I want to do. So I don't have an Xbox adaptive controller at this time, but I think the technology is great. It's just the setting it up and having to have all the buttons and the switches. And then the price, I think, for me and for people with disabilities, can be kind of difficult with the price of getting to get that. And then you got to get the Logitech switches and all those things. And then you're looking at like a couple $100, American dollars, before you even start gaming.
Yeah, that's true. But if you compare it, with Tobii eye tracking, I believe you have this little add-on, the mobile, I think it's called. But when it comes to assistive technology, they are, and I know that because we developed something, they are quite expensive, right? Like mouse-operated mouses and so on, eye tracking in general. So from that point of view, I think this adaptive controller is quite affordable compared to dedicated devices maybe.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at like the quad stick, it's like $400 where you can play controller with your mouth and stuff. So yeah, I think it brings the price down to, I think it's like $90 or something from American standpoint. But it's still like the setting up and having the switches. It takes a lot of time, and so I think a lot of people have to experiment what fits their play style and what fits their needs as a person with a disability, and kind of find the right tools for them.
Right. When I think it was last year or 2 years ago, because the Super Bowl just happened, right? When the adaptive controller, I think, was advertised at the Super Bowl. Do you think, or when you started with gaming and look at it right now, accessible gaming or making games accessible, is this the awareness, you think something has changed in the last 10 years, 15 years about the accessible gaming in general?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the interest from a game development perspective has definitely increased. I used to work in game development in QA for about 2 years before I started doing the streaming and running my own YouTube channel and doing reviews for accessibility in games. I think that it's a lot of interest in it. I think a lot of companies want to do it. They all know how, and you see a lot more indie devs that can have more freedom and implement things that they want, more than like a AAA title. Like certain titles like EA or different companies like that may have more difficult because of bureaucracy involved in creating a game that's so massive, and there's so many moving parts. And so indie games, you kind of see it more and have more freedom to do those things than the bigger games.
Earlier this afternoon, we got the question from someone asking if there are any esport. I don't know if you've recognized any esport for disabled gamers around, or should we form a group of esport? You know,
I know that there is some organizations that were trying to organize some events for, I think, like Rocket League and stuff. I think Rocket League was one of the games that I did for a test run of having to do one online. I know Special Olympics here in the States is kind of organizing, and they do an Xbox. I think they do like a
Special Olympics.
Sorry.
Special
Olympics here in the States.
Oh, that's interesting.
And maybe even around the world, because it is global too. I don't know if they do it on a global scale as well, but I believe the Special Olympics has started to get into the esports and having it as part of their Paralympic and Special Olympic competitions.
Would you join them, or you know, are you on esports? I mean, or are you more on content? Because I've read, you know, you're more creating your own content now.
Yeah, it's more for me. It's more of creating my own content and getting info out to players about what settings and options and things are in the game before they buy, because that's kind of the thing that I like to focus on. I don't want people to buy a game, especially if it's $60 and maybe $70, and then they find out that they can't play it. And so there's not a lot of resources where you go, at least in video format, where you can go and find out what settings are in the game, how accessible it is before you buy it. And that way you don't have to waste that money on the game, or maybe you can't refund it, or you find out that a game that you didn't know you can play. Like let's take Control, for example. It released in 2019 without any assist mode or any accessibility features. And then 2020, a year later, they add assist mode, and it kind of makes the whole game completely accessible. And a lot of players, even non-disabled players, have commented of like, oh my gosh, I can now finish the game. It's not as hard. Like, I love the experience. Like, so accessible features are kind of for everyone, not just people with disabilities. But it's kind of great to kind of see the change between a game that released with it and then they patch it, and then the difference between those two experiences.
What is your favorite game at the moment?
My favorite game at the moment, I try to play a little bit of everything. I've been playing Valheim is the new craze right now, the survival game, a Viking survival game. So that's kind of next on my list of things to review. I just played like a potion simulator crafting game through the Steam Game Festival. I play a lot of card games, so Magic as well is pretty good. The Witcher 3 is probably one of the games I've finished in recent years, and then I like the Avengers game from Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics that I finished last year as well. And
when you review games, are you, may I ask, paid for that? Is it a job, or do it, or is it like sometimes you do it just for yourself and you spread the word, or are you hired?
It depends if I'm interested in.
Yeah, sorry.
If I'm interested in the game, or if I can be able to get a review copy, like you go through any other press release, pre-R people through each game dev and go through that whole process. And then some companies think that accessibility is important and they want to cover it, or they decide maybe we didn't put that stuff, so maybe we don't want to have the bad PR or the bad. Not that I'm
frozen.
things. Oh, do we
No.
drop?
No, you were still. You were just frozen
Sorry.
for a moment.
Sorry. Okay.
Sorry, from our side.
Where was I going? I was going with so it just depends on the company and what PR standpoint they want to take, and then. But I try not to be negative. I try to be informative, and give the person who's watching the content as much as possible, so they can make the decision for themselves.
And Cyberpunk was, it's everybody's talking about. Did you try it or?
Yeah, I definitely played it on release.
Yes, and
it was definitely a disappointment at times. Different things that you would not expect from them, but I know that they're more of they like to refine and retool and polish as the game goes on, and so in a game that's that big, I don't know at what point do they start doing visibility features and having keybinds and having different inputs and options that they probably should have had. Maybe didn't come in, and then they really didn't have the review things in place, which was probably conscientious on their part because of things weren't working in different builds, and so I think there was a lot of decision making that behind the scenes that went into that.
And if I got it right, you are your own company yourself, or are you self-employed, or are you like sometimes working for someone?
So I do this. I run the channel, and everything is all a hobby.
Right.
So right now
That is a
I've been
real
doing
life-
on YouTube and streaming for 2 years, and then I work a full-time job at home that's not in gaming, but it's still QA related. So
Right.
kind of have like 2 jobs really. But with the amount of work
That's quite American,
creating
isn't it?
and editing my own
Yeah.
videos and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think this is quite American, US American, having at least 2 jobs, working a lot.
it keeps me busy, that's for sure.
Yes. Are you still playing with your brother?
My brother, we still play a bunch of times. He's both of us are married, so we try to get in as much gaming time and he just had a baby too last year. So
Okay,
we try to get as much
congratulations. Yeah.
gaming in as we can remotely. We don't live like super close. We're like probably 3 or 4 hours drive between us. So we try to game remotely as when we can.
But this is really, I got a question from, thank you very much. I get back to this question very soon, but I just want to finish the situation with your brother and gaming and, distance gaming or, through this pandemic situation we faced the last couple of months and last year. I think people understood a lot better about, being away, but still playing with each other. Do you think this now is something that will never, that will stay with us, playing online? Each one has his own computer, and you play a multi-mode game, or is it more fun? Because I've also learned that like my older son gets connected with other ones playing some games, but basically they are talking to each other and not playing. Is this something?
I think that I hope that the remote stuff stays, because I think being able to do things remote, like doing this event and doing other PR and other gaming opportunities, as far as like giving feedback from accessibility perspective, I really hope the whole remote and working like in general, I think it affords people with disabilities a lot more opportunities, because traveling can be so difficult to do things in person, and so it can be really difficult to travel. I have to bring my own caregiver and my own equipment and everything else. But if I'm at home, I can just boot up my computer and we're live in the United States and where you are. So it's kind of cool that
Absolutely.
technology affords us the opportunity.
gives me goosebumps. I go to used to go to ATA. I don't know if you know about this show, Assistive Technology Industry Association conference each year in Orlando. It's the first year, 2021. I'm not going because of the situation, but I'm totally happy that we are connected now. Just without traveling and everything else. Someone is asking, when you're using eye tracking, is there something that could be done better in regards of eye tracking?
I would like to see it more implemented in more games. I know that Tobii has its own SDK and API,
Yes,
and it has
yes.
partnerships with certain game developers like Ubisoft. But I would love to see it like widened. I could imagine like you're playing like Magic the Gathering online, the Arena one, and you could just like play your cards just by looking at them, or playing Hearthstone, and you could just play Hearthstone with just moving your cards with your eyes. I would just love to see more games implement the features of eye tracking, and be able to do it it would just make playing without having to just play with your eyes, make it so much easier and so carefree than how it is right now, where it's only like a very limited amount of games that use them.
So we have to ask game developers to look at the SDK of Tobii more. We have to come to an end. Half an hour just went by very quickly. I hope we can continue our talk. But any recommendations for young kids with cerebral palsy? When should they start? What could parents do right or wrong on gaming and education?
I mean, if they're interested in gaming, you just kind of, if they find that interest and they find that passion, just let them kind of explore it at whatever age I think is right for them, or whatever they're passionate about. I was growing up, I was in gaming, I was in Boy Scouts, I was really interested in sports, and so I think whatever activity and whatever interest they have, just to kind of encourage them and allow them to do things independently. I was lucky enough growing up that I had a really great support system with my family, and so it was awesome to be able to just, whatever I wanted to do, there was no like, we can't do this, let's just figure out a way to do it. And so as long as you continue to do that, then that's what matters the most.
I have to take care about that as a father as well. Any wish, in terms of accessible gaming, any wish? I could, Santa Claus just has left, but he will come back, right?
A wish, if I was like a genie, if I had a genie bottle, I just want people to be aware that people with disabilities do play games, and we want to experience all the stories in different games that they create. And it's not about difficulty, and it's not about, we're trying to bash and we're trying to stop the creative process. It's about experiencing whatever the item that you create and the story you're trying to tell, so that everyone can have the same opportunity to experience your story, because we all experience games and things differently, but we just want to have the right and the opportunity to do so.
So let's focus on the abilities, right, in the future, also in gaming. Thank you so much, Kyle. It was a pleasure talking to you. We will continue because Spawnpoint, this event was the first one. It's definitely not going to be the last one. Looking forward to see you next year again. Have a great year. Take care. Thank you so much, Kyle. See you.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.